Good morning, class 10 students. Today we are going to study Politics, Chapter 2, Federalism. Federalism. So, what is federalism? In a simple way, we can understand what is federalism. The existence of more than one level of government in a nation is called federalism. In case of India, we know that we have central government, we have state governments, and of course we have Panchayati Raj. That means more than one level of government. That is why India is an example of federal nation. And we can give a definition for federalism also. Federalism is a system of government in which the power is divided between a central authority and various constituent units of the country. Here, the constituent units means states or regional governments. So, federalism is a system of government in which the power is divided between a central authority and various constituent units of the nation. That means power is shared for central government and regional governments or state governments. So, minimum 2 levels of government will be there in a federal nation. It can be 3 levels of government also. For the easiness of administration, we can share power for more than 2 levels of governments. That is what we have seen in India. We know that India is a big nation and here population is also very big. And so, for the easiness of the administration, our constitution makers firstly suggested for 2 levels of government. Later, government of India realized the fact that for the easiness of administration, we need one more level of government. And so, our parliament made constitutional changes and included one more level of government, that is called Panchayati Raj. Now let us see difference between federal government and unitary government. We know that in a federal government, minimum 2 levels of government will be there. It can be more than 2 levels of governments also. But in a unitary form of government, either there is only one level of government, or if there is regional governments, that regional governments will be under the control of central government. So sometimes in a unitary form of government, only one level of government will be there. Only central government will be there. No regional governments will be there. Or in some countries, even though central government is there and regional governments are there, but still regional governments may not be able to enjoy their powers because central government will be able to control on regional governments. And that's why we can say that either there is only one level of government or regional governments will be subordinate to the central government or under the control of the central government. And in a unitary form of government, the central government can pass orders to state government. And central government can withdraw the powers of state governments at any time. And separate powers will not be there. That is, actually, even though state governments and central governments are there, separate powers were given that can be withdrawn by the central government at any time. And in a federal government, we have what are saying that more than 2 levels of government, minimum 2 levels of government will be there. Sometimes it can be more than 2 also. And separate powers will be given for central authority and regional governments. And central government cannot withdraw the powers of state governments, or central government cannot interfere in the powers of state government unnecessarily. The case of Belgium, we have seen that. Before, in the last chapter, we have seen the case of Belgium and Sri Lanka. Before 1993, also there were state governments in Belgium, and they were enjoying some powers also. But all those powers could be withdrawn by central government. That means before 1993, even though central government was existing and state governments were also existing, Belgium was not a federal government because it was just like a unitary form of government. Central government could interfere in the matter of state governments. Central government could withdraw the powers of the state governments. Central government could control state governments. That was happening in Belgium before 1993. And we have seen some constitutional amendments made in the constitution of Belgium by the Belgian leaders. After those amendments, Belgium changed as a federal government. From unitary, Belgium changed as a federal government, because now separate powers are given for federal central government and state governments. Now central government cannot interfere unnecessarily in the matter of state governments. And of course, now state governments are not subordinate to the central government. Now central government cannot pass any order to the state governments. So Belgium shifted from a unitary form of government to federal form of government. And in case of Sri Lanka, still Sri Lanka continues to be a unitary form of government, because state governments will not have any power in Sri Lanka. All the powers are vested in central government. We have already seen that actually in a unitary form of government, either there will be only one level of government, or if there is more than one level of government, that means even though if there is more than one level of government, state governments will be under the control of central government, or state governments will be subordinate to the central government. So this is about federal government and unitary form of government. Once again, you keep in mind that in a federal system, minimum 2 levels of government will be there, and it can be more than 2 levels also as per the population size of the country, as per the size of the country. For the easiness of the administration, the levels of government can be increased. In a unitary form of government, either there is only one level of government, or if there is separate regional governments will not have any power, any separate powers, or if there is separate powers, that can be withdrawn by the central government at any time. In a federal system, separate powers will be given for central government and regional governments, and central government cannot interfere in the powers of state governments or regional governments unnecessarily. Now, let us see the topic features of federalism. In your textbook, you can see 7 features of federalism. Let us see one by one. The first feature of federalism is that in a federal nation, 2 or more levels of government will be there. Minimum 2 levels of government will be there, and it can be more than 2 also. As per the population size of the nation, for the easiness of the administration, more than 2 levels of government also possible in a nation. So minimum 2 levels of government will be there. So the first feature is that there will be 2 or more levels of government. And the second feature is that different tiers of government govern the same citizens. Different tiers of government, which means central government is a tier of government, state government is another tier of government, like that. So different tiers of government govern, means rule, govern the same citizens. Central government is also ruling the people of our country, state government also rules the people of a particular region. That means same people are ruled by different levels of the government. But each tier has its own jurisdiction. But even though different levels of government rule the same citizens, as per the constitution, separate powers are given for central government and state government. That is why jurisdiction means power. Each tier has its own jurisdiction or power in specific matters of legislation. Legislation means lawmaking. Central government has its own power for making laws. In that case, whenever central government making laws, state governments cannot interfere in that. In specific matters of legislation, taxation, collection of taxes. Central government also collects various taxes from the people, and state governments also collects various taxes from the people. And administration, how to rule the people. In a state, the state government can decide how to rule the people, what policies they need to make, and also what facilities they need to offer for the people. Everything the state government can decide. The same way, central government also can decide overall in nation what facilities need to be arranged, what policies want to be formulated. That is why different tiers of government govern or rule the same citizens, but each level of government has its own power. in specific matters of legislation. That is, in law-making matters, taxation matters, or administration matters, separate powers are there. So one level of government cannot interfere in a matter of other level of government because these powers are, separate powers are constitutionally guaranteed. And the third feature is that the jurisdiction of the respective levels or tiers of government are specified in the constitution. That means jurisdiction means the power of different levels of government. That means what central government can do and what cannot do. What state governments can do and cannot do. That means powers. The powers of central government and the state government clearly written in the constitution. And so, one level of government cannot interfere in a matter of other level of government because these powers are constitutionally guaranteed, given by the constitution. For state government, powers are given by the constitution, and for central government also, powers are given by the constitution. And so, misuse of power should not be there or will not be there. And the fourth feature, the fundamental provisions of the constitution cannot be changed by one level of the government alone. That means actually we have seen that actually in the Indian constitution many articles are there, writs are there, many provisions are written. So if any provision wanted to be deleted and if anyone want to be included as new one, what is not possible? Parliament alone cannot do that. For that, first of all, Parliament want to meet separately. It should meet. Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha want to meet, and 2/3 majority of Lok Sabha members and 2/3 majority of Rajya Sabha members permission needed. Along with that, still at present we have actually 28 state governments we have. So out of this 20, more than half state governments permission also needed. That means around 15 state legislative assemblies majority permission is also needed. Then only one change can be, one fundamental provision can be removed from the constitution and another one can be added. One level of government cannot, otherwise always there will be misuse of power. If Parliament alone can do these changes in the constitution, Parliament will delete many of the provisions of the constitution and they will add new provisions in the constitution and they will increase their power. So when they increase their power, they will try to interfere in a matter of state governments. So now this is not possible. Only if any provision wanted to be deleted and if new one wanted to be included in the constitution, for that 2/3 majority of Lok Sabha, 2/3 majority of Rajya Sabha, and of course 2/3 majority of more than half of the total Indian state legislative assemblies also needed. So this is easily not possible. And that's why only constitutional amendments possible by the Parliament. Amendments means slight modifications or changes only will be possible by the Parliament. Now, let's see courts have the power to solve dispute. If there is a dispute between central government and state government, of course there is a possibility for dispute, conflict. Whenever central government try to interfere in a matter of state government, whenever central government try to misuse their power, there is a possibility for disagreement, there is a possibility for conflict between central government and state governments. If there is any conflict between central government and state government, judiciary, that is Supreme Court, can interfere in the matter and Supreme Court can work as an umpire to solve these issues. Mainly during the time of legislation, taxation and administration, there is a possibility for conflict between central government and the state governments. And so, if there is any such kinds of conflicts, that can be solved by Supreme Court. And Supreme Court can work as an umpire to solve the issues between central and state governments. Sixth feature is that sources of revenue of each level of government are clearly specified in the Constitution. Sources of revenue means income, sources of income. What are the sources of income of central government and what are the sources of income of the state government? We know that the income of the government is tax. Central government can collect various taxes and the state governments also can collect various taxes. So regarding these taxes, clearly specified in the in the constitution. So which type of taxes central government can collect from the people and which type of taxes state governments can collect from the people. Regarding this matter clearly specified in the constitution. And so whenever state governments collect taxes from the people, central government cannot interfere. And whenever general government collect taxes, state governments also cannot interfere. That's why it is separately given, separate powers are given for collection of taxes from the people by the constitution for central government and the state government. And that is why sources of revenue of each level of government are clearly specified in the constitution. And let's see the last feature, dual objectives. That means when a country shift from unitary form of government to a federal nation, that country will have two objectives or two aims. When a country move into a federal nation, that country will have two objectives or two aims. The two aims are safeguard and promote unity of the nation. That means for the why a country is changing as a federal nation? For promoting unity of the nation. That means for the entire nation, unity among people, for creating a unity among the people. Second one, accommodation of regional diversity. We know that in a country, different types of people will be there. Different language speakers will be there, religious believers will be there, cultural people will be there, regional people will be there. All these people want to live peacefully in a country. Then only what is possible, unity will be possible. So accommodation, arrangement of proper area or living space for all types of people in a nation. That is called accommodation of regional diversity. So when a country move from or shift from a unitary level of government to a federal nation, that country will have two aims. One is safeguard and promote unity, another one accommodation of regional diversity. But easily these cannot be achieved. If both these aims want to be achieved, there should be two matters want to be followed, or two policies want to be followed, two rules want to be followed. The two rules are mutual trust and mutual agreement. What is mutual trust? That means a mutual trust between central government and state government. That means central government will not interfere in the matter of state government. That confidence should be there. State government should be 100% confident that central government will not interfere in their matter. And central government also should be like that. And mutual agreement. Some policies for that means some powers are for central government, some powers are for state government. This mutual agreement and mutual trust should be there between central government and state governments. Then only these two aims can be achieved. Then only a federal government can be successful government. These are the 7 features of federalism. Now let us study about different types of federations. There are mainly 2 types of federations. Coming together federations and holding together federations. Let us see first of all coming together federation. So in coming together federation, small independent nations coming together and they are joining together. Why they are joining together means they need to be increase their power, security. They want to get they need to get protection. If they remain a small independent nation, mighty powerful nations may attack them, control them, capture them. So in order to be secure, they are ready to join together and they are joining together as a single nation for increasing their security, for protection. So when they join together, they are sharing their power and maintaining or retaining their identity. And they are increasing their power. So this type of federation is called coming together federations. Independent states coming together their own and forming a bigger unit. And specialties of this type of federations. All the states will have equal powers. And central government and state governments also will have equal powers. So all the states will have equal powers and central government and state governments also will have equal powers. Some examples are USA, Switzerland, Australia. So small independent nations coming together, because if they remain as small independent nation, mighty powers may attack them, easily control them, capture them. And so, if they join together, when small nations join together, they will be able to fight against the attack of mighty nation together. So, all the areas will be protected. That is why For increasing their security, they are sharing their power. Sovereignty means sharing their power. So, in this kind of federation, all the states will have equal power, and the central government and state governments also will have equal power. Some examples are USA, Switzerland, Australia. And another type of federation is called holding together federation. In holding together federation, one big nation shares its power for central government and various regional governments. For the easiness of the administration, one big nation shares its power for central government and regional governments for the easiness of the administration. So in this type of federation, central government will be more powerful than the state governments. And all the state governments may not have equal powers. Some states have more powers than other states. And some states will have special powers also. Some examples are India, Spain and Belgium. Because in India, we have central government and state governments. And all states have not equal powers. Central government is more powerful than the state governments also. And that's why these nations are called holding together federation. Here, one big nation share its power for central authority and various regional governments for the easiness of the administration. And when there is such kind of federation, central government will be more powerful than the state government. Even though separate powers are given for central and state governments, but central government will be more powerful than the state governments. And some states will have special powers, just like in India. Till recently, Jammu Kashmir had a special right. Separate constitution existed in Jammu and Kashmir. That means special power. And some states, that means in northeastern states, especially in one state we can say Arunachal Pradesh. Non-Arunachalites cannot buy land and house in Arunachal Pradesh. Immovable property cannot be bought by outsiders. That is special right of Arunachal Pradesh. That means some states have, all states may not have equal powers. Some states will have special power, like Jammu Kashmir had a separate constitution. So examples are India, Spain and Belgium. These are coming together and holding together federations. Now, let us see the topic. What makes India a federal nation? We know that constitutional arrangements for separate levels of government and to distribute powers separately, that made India a federal country. When our constitution makers, constituent assembly members, when they made our constitution, they suggested only two levels of government. One government for the entire nation and regional governments. Later, there was a necessity of inclusion of third tier of government. Because our population size increased, for the easiness of the administration, one more level of government was necessary. And that level government also included, that is Panchayati Raj government also included in constitution. And now the Indian constitution provides separate powers, law-making powers, legislative powers, threefold distribution of legislative powers for central government and state government. Legislative means law-making powers. Central government also can make laws, state governments also can make laws, but on different subjects. That subjects are included in the three lists. These three lists are union list, state list and concurrent list. First of all, let's see about union list. Union list is a list of subjects. 97 subjects are there in this list. Only union government or central government, the parliament, only parliament will have the right to make laws on the subjects included in the union list. State government cannot interfere in that matter. State government cannot make any laws included in the union list. Only central government will have the power to make laws on the subjects included in the union list. Central government means here the parliament. 97 subjects are there in the union list. All these subjects are national important subjects. Just example, defense, communication, banking, insurance, currency. In all these matters, only one law should be there in the country. There should not be more than one law regarding that these subjects like banking, defense, communication, currency, insurance, all these subjects. That is why all these subjects are included in the union list. When our parliament makes a law, that law regarding on these subjects, that law will be applicable everywhere in India. That is why such subjects are called national important subjects. All the subjects are included in the union list. 97 subjects are there. Now let's study about state list. There are 66 subjects in the state list. The subjects which are included in the state list, only state governments will have the right to make laws on the subjects included in the state list. Whenever state governments make laws on these subjects, central government cannot interfere. Just example, police, trade and commerce, agriculture, irrigation. Such subjects are in the state list. Only state governments have the right to make laws on these subjects, because these powers are given by the constitution, and so central government cannot interfere in the matter of state governments. Now let's see concurrent list. Common interest. The subjects which are included in the concurrent list, there are 52 subjects like marriage, education, trade union, such subjects. These are of common interest. That means both the levels of the government will have equal power to make laws on the subjects of concurrent list. Central government also will be able to make laws, and state governments also will be able to make laws on the subjects of concurrent list. But when there is a disagreement, suppose if both the levels of government made same law on one particular subject, the laws made by the central government will be valid. Since central government is more powerful in India, the law made by the central government will be declared as valid. In the concurrent list subject, in a concurrent list subject, both central government and state government will have equal power to make laws. But when two levels of government made law on one particular subject, the law made by the parliament will be valid, because parliament is more powerful than state legislative assemblies. And now let's see about residuary powers. The subjects which are not included in union list, state list and concurrent list. Such subjects are under central government. Just like newly created subjects, IT, information technology. Such subjects are called residuary subjects. Subjects which are not included in union list, state list and concurrent list are called residuary subjects. Only central government will have the power to make laws on all those subjects. So union list, 97 subjects are there. Only central government or the parliament will have the power to make laws on all subjects of union list. And state list, 66 subjects are there. State government or state legislative assemblies only will have the right to make laws on all subjects of state list. And concurrent list, both of the levels of government will have equal power to make laws on concurrent list subjects. But when there is a disagreement, when two laws are made on one particular subject, the law made by the parliament will be supreme, or it will be considered as valid, since parliament is more powerful than state assemblies. And subjects which are not included in all these three lists are called residuary subjects, and the central government or the parliament only will be able to make laws on residuary subjects. That power of central government is called residuary powers. Now let us see four topics. Unequal powers of the states, union territories, and constitutional provisions cannot be changed by one level of government alone. Role of judiciary. Let us see first of all unequal powers of the states. In the topic holding together federation, we have seen that actually India is an example of a holding together federation. In holding together the federation, all the states may not have equal powers. We have already seen actually in India, in some states, people, especially outsiders, cannot buy immovable property, land and buildings. They cannot buy. They can take it for rent, but they cannot buy it. So such privates are there. Only the people of that particular state can buy and sell their land and other immovable property. Just example, Arunachal Pradesh. In Arunachal Pradesh, outsiders cannot buy land and building. They can take it for rent, but they cannot buy it. The same way, some states have special powers, especially Jammu Kashmir. Till recently, Jammu Kashmir had a special power, separate constitution. Article 370 of the Indian Constitution explained about the special constitution of Jammu and Kashmir. When the special constitution existed, many of the laws made by the Indian Parliament were not applicable in Jammu and Kashmir. Only some particular laws. And all the other laws, as per separate constitution, Jammu Kashmir State Legislative Assembly made laws for that particular state. That was only applicable there. This is a topic about unequal powers of the states. And now let's say about union territories. There are some units, some regions in our country which are too small and which have only little power. Since they are too small, they cannot be counted as states. And that's why such regions are under the control of central government or union government. That's why such small territories are called union territories. Since all those small territories are under the control of union government, they are called union territories. But one union territory, Delhi, has a status of a state also, power of the state. Even though it is a union territory, but it has the power of a state. Now let's see the topic. Already we have seen actually in the part of features of the constitution. Features of the federalism. In the Indian constitution, if any provision wanted to be deleted and if any provision wanted to be included, 2/3 majority of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha and plus 2/3 majority of more than half of the Indian state legislative assemblies needed. That means one level of government alone cannot make any provision, cannot include any provision, cannot delete any provision written in the Indian constitution, already written in the Indian constitution. So, the dominance of one level of government cannot be seen, the misuse of power of one level of government can be controlled. And finally, role of judiciary. When there is sharing of power, whenever central government enjoys its power and the state governments also enjoy their own powers, there is a possibility for conflict. If there is conflict, that conflict want to be settled. For that, judiciary is there. The highest court, that is Supreme Court of India, can work as an umpire for solving the conflict between central government and state governments. So because of all these features only, we can say our country is a federal nation. What makes India a federal nation? We have already seen actually constitutional arrangements. That means threefold distribution of power, separate powers, legislative powers are given for central government and the state government. Union list for central government, state list for state government, concurrent list for both. And unequal powers are given for the states, and also the constitutional provisions cannot be changed by one level of government alone, and role of judiciary. Because of the interference of judiciary also, conflicts can be avoided. So because of all these features, our country still exists as a strong federal nation.